Thank you. Again, I'm Noah. This is Tiffany and Amy, and super thankful for Dr. McDonald who helped guide us through all of this. The digital disease is the title of our research. Technology and its effects on marriage and families. We look primarily at the level of technology usage in the lives of the parents who took the survey, and saw how that spoke to and its effect on the level of satisfaction that the parents felt within their marriages, within their relationship to their children as well. And that survey that you guys all just have, or all just received, is just a way for you to think about how technology really plays a huge role in all of our lives, how dominant and prevalent it is just in all of our lives. Just to reiterate, we're looking at the correlation between technology and the satisfaction that parents experience in their various relationships in their family. As we did our literature review, we realized and found that there was plenty of research pertaining to child's technology use. There's a few examples right here of studies conducted that dealt primarily with that, but we found that there was definitely a lack of research regarding technology's effect on the marriage relationship. So McDaniel's 2014 study dealt with that to some extent. His study, in his title, was the word technoference, so the interference of technology within that relationship. But we found that there were very, very few studies regarding that. And just as a whole, our study unique in that it was all entailing with the children's technology use, parents' technology use, and the satisfaction that was experienced due to technology.
Okay, so I'm going to tell us a little bit about our participants. Our responses were gathered through SurveyMonkey. So we just put all of our scales on SurveyMonkey and posted the link onto each of our individual Facebooks and had family and friends share it, take it, post it, whatever they wanted to do. We ended up with 190 participants, and the majority of them were Caucasian, non-Hispanics, but we did have 51 who identified as other. In addition, there was 158 married or partnered, 20 singles, 8 divorced, and 1 widowed. We did desire for most of them to be married couples with children, but we did obviously get some who weren't. So in our demographics, we also wanted to somehow get a baseline for what the technology usage was in their home. And so parents stated that they had an average of 3 hours each day on a technology device, which included computers, cell phone, anything, Xbox, whatever it was. And then their children alongside that had 2.5 hours a day of technology use, so they kind of went hand in hand. And spouses also indicated that they spent 3 hours a day with one another. We just wanted to gather some baseline for how much time they were spending with one another when we were going to evaluate their relationship. So we did shoot for the children to be around the age of 6, but as you can imagine, many children are not the age of 6, so the average of the children in our study was 10 years old. We got some 30-year-olds, some infants reported about. So also, for the children who were in the ages of 6 to 12, we had 44 males and 55 females. So now Tiffany will tell you a little bit about the scales we use.
All right, so in order to look at the marital relationship in comparison to the parent-child relationship and how they both separately relate to technology, we had to construct our survey from previously existing scales. So what we did, we took several questions from each of these listed and just put it into one survey that we then distributed and got our data from. So these measures included the child-parent relationship scale, and this one is where the parent just kind of reported on how strong they felt their relationship with their child was, or how comfortable their child felt coming to them with issues that they were dealing with. And then the technology device interference scale, it had a very simple construction to it. It was where the participant reported how often their technology use interfered with their interactions with their partner. And it was simple in the way that it just listed cell phone, television, and then they would rate on a scale from never to all the time. And then we got a little more specific with the technology interference in life example scale. And this asked more specific scenario type questions about not only their personal technology use, but their partner's technology use. So it might ask, how often does your partner answer their phone during a typical mealtime? And then they would report on a scale for that. And then the next one is parenting sense of competence. And this would ask the parents how capable they felt as parents, or how good of a job they felt they were doing raising their children. And then the problematic internet use questionnaire. This was our main scale. All of the other ones sort of centralized around this one. This is where the participant would report their own technology use, how often they were using it, and how often it became a problem. And the next one is child technology use interference. This is the parent would report how often their children were using technology and how often their children would use technology over another activity, such as going outside or spending time with the family. And then the last one is quality marriage index. And this is where the participant would report how strong a bond they felt with their partner. And again, all of these came back to the problematic internet use questionnaire, and how these related is really where we ended up finding our results. So.
Okay, so now for the most exciting part, in our opinion, the results. So when spouses reported high technology use in their own life, their other relationships were also negatively affected. So that was our ultimate goal, to see, is technology just affecting the individual, or is it affecting all of their other relationships? So when they did have a high technology use, their marital relationship suffered, so they indicated that they weren't satisfied in their marriage, or weren't as satisfied. Their feelings of their ability to parent their children was decreased, so they felt more incompetent when they had higher technology use. Their children's use, as we mentioned in the method, was a lot higher. Their technology use, obviously, if the parent is using a lot, then the children will use a lot of technology. And finally, the parents reported that they were less satisfied in the relationship. So we saw that in the marriages they were less satisfied, and also in the parent-child relationship they were less satisfied when they were using a lot of technology. So our hypothesis was correct. And that was our main findings. Are there any questions?
You said that you had 190 participants, and then what did you say you had for numbers of children? Were the parents answering for the children, so that was within the 190?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you did is you constructed your questions based on each of those 7 different indexes and put those into one survey that was the composite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What inspired your research? Like, the three of y'all, like, why did you choose this?
Well, I think it was a lot of different reasons, but we did see it affecting our own relationships. I don't know if any of you want to comment on that.
That's me.
Yeah, it was just, even in our, like, friendships and whatnot, we saw it being a major cause, and we're just wondering if there was more tangible way to look at how it was affecting the family.
I think there were a couple of specific, I had actually been out to dinner and I'd seen an entire family and everybody was on a device, and there was even about a 6 to 8 month old could not even sit up unsupported very well, and they were propped up with an iPad, their own iPad. So each individual was on their own device with this tiny baby who couldn't sit up. And it was just surprising. But even, as we started conceptualizing this study, I really thought social desirability would be a factor, that people would deny how much they were on their device. And we really didn't get that. We got a good range and high rates of usage. I'd also been reading a book. One of the things that really stuck with me was talking about how many marital partners, the first thing that they do, or that they reported that they did, instead of turning to each other and saying good morning, they turn towards their device, on the charger. And so just really kind of looking at long-term the impact of marriage with our technology usage. So. And I think everybody kind of maybe had similar stories. And I've learned about phone stacks. Is that what they're called? Yeah, I really didn't know that was a term. That if you want to have good interactions, ask everybody to stack their phone as they come in to dinner. So,
like a phone check, coat check.
Right.
What are some limitations that you found in your study, or what are some things that you would have changed about it? So we didn't really have a huge diversity. As you could see, most of them were Caucasian, non-Hispanics. We were trying to get more of a diversity, but it's hard in our circle. And obviously alongside with that, because we do go to a Christian school, most of the individuals who took it were affiliated with the Christian faith. So yeah, just seeking a greater population to analyze.
Yeah.
Can you go back to your conclusions?
Sure.
And are you interested in taking this study further? And in what ways?
Good question.
We've discussed it. We're not quite sure yet.
Mhm.
We'd be interested to do that, but yeah, nothing set in stone yet.
We haven't looked too much further into that.
Yeah.
What the next step would be. But
The way you went about it wasn't easy to deliver and give back. The next step would be significantly higher probably, so.
Yeah.
It's certainly something, there's obviously more to find.
yeah. And they are really, at the .01 level, just does show a really strong correlation between all four of these results. One way to put, one way to put it might be that the strength of that could be stated as the probability of us getting these results by chance alone is less than or equal to 1%. So highly unlikely that, or it just shows a very strong correlation. I should say.
In this group, they will present this at APA, the American Psychological Association, this summer in Denver. And I think that research really cannot even keep up with technology. I think it is changing so quickly. And I was talking to Dr. Zambori just before the presentation, and he's very interested in he's interested in mindfulness in general. And so how does this relate to mindfulness? If we are constantly kind of choosing to be on our devices versus being, in live interaction with people, I think it's there's several other variables to explore. I think mindfulness will be an interesting one.
Yes.
Having done this study and seen these results, has it changed your behavior at all with technology?
I think so, yeah. Like, since doing this study, I noticed that I am more mindful. Like, when I go out to dinner with my friends or I'm with my family, I'll leave my phone in the different room or, in my purse. I am more conscious of, using my phone or something like that. So, yeah. I don't know about you guys.
And as a follow-up question to that, do you encourage others to do the same, like your friends in particular? Or do you just let them?
I kind of let them do their thing. It depends on how close. If we're really good friends, then I'll be like, hey, do you mind putting it away? Because I think in-person interactions are more important.
Yeah, and I just the higher levels of technology in their lives being directly correlated to dissatisfaction in relationships, I think isn't obviously only relatable to parents and children and spouses. It's for all of our lives. And I just think in one way it seems almost like common sense to us. Oh, technology takes away from this, but if you're constantly on your devices or constantly focusing on something other than people around you, then those relationships will suffer. So.
Well, and even if we talk about it, we don't have any evidence to do it, but if you talk about it, you've got to start pointing evidence. So, we're going to listen to you more. So, that is something that gives you a foot up on that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.